I'm Lisa. Welcome back to this channel. Today we're talking about correct invoicing procedure, which if you are an entrepreneur in France, you have probably heard, I hope you've heard, that invoicing procedure is becoming more and more formalized. The fines for incorrect invoicing procedure can run into the thousands, even the tens of thousands, and we definitely don't want that. Today we're going to just break it down, talk about exactly what you need to do and how you need to do it. Electronic invoicing is the new must. It's already been in place for a while for the larger businesses and businesses that work with the public sector, but that's going to filter down to medium-sized businesses next, and then eventually even the smallest businesses, so that in July 2026, even the tiniest micro is going to have to be producing electronic invoices. So there will be no more scratching out your invoices on the back of an envelope. Now, not only do these invoices have to be electronic, but they also have to be very specifically made out, as I said before, at the risk of really quite hefty fines. And if you think that your business is far too tiny for the tax office to take any notice of you, then bear in mind that within a couple of years, the first copy of every invoice you make out will not be going to your client. It will be going first to the tax office. Right, let's not muck around. These are the exact things that you need to put on your invoices. I'm just going to share my screen with you. Okay, so it might look like there's a lot here, but we're going to go through it, and you'll see that some's in blue and some's in red, and I'll explain that in a moment. But to start off with, okay, so your company name, not your personal name, your company name, if you have one, the address of your siège social, so for many of us this will be our home address, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, and your statut juridique, so if you are an entreprise individuelle, if you're a SAL, whatever you are, you need to put that on there as well. Your SIREN or SIRET number, so you know that your SIREN and your SIRET are the same. It's just that your SIRET has an extra 5 figures on the end, which is a code to show exactly where you are in the country. And you have to have also your immatriculation number. If you registered your activity more than a couple of years ago, then if you were an artisan, for example, you would have an immatriculation number at the Chambre de Métier. If you're a commerçant, then you would have one from the Chambre de Commerce that you got from the greffe. If you do have an immatriculation number from before, then you need to have this on your invoice as well. Okay, moving on. So you need to have the name and address of your client plus their invoice address and or delivery address if this is different. Because it could be your client could have their address in one place and you could be doing works for them in another place. You need to have both of those addresses on there. The date of your invoice number. Now these must be sequential. If there are any gaps or duplications, that is just begging for a tax investigation. So your invoice numbers must be sequential and they must be preceded by FAC or factura, but you have to put this in there just before the invoice number. Otherwise, it's an incorrect invoice, so don't make that mistake. Precise description and number of services or goods provided with unit price of tax. Okay, so imagine you're an electrician and you're installing 72 double plug sockets at somebody's house. Then you have to write that down. The 72 is the number, the installation and the description is the double plug sockets. And you may decide that you want to separate that out between the cost of the goods and the cost of the man hours, in which case you have to write down exactly how many hours this is taking you at what price per hour, or you can just put in installation of double plug sockets, but this is how many there are, and this is the cost per socket. So you can do it that way, but you have to break it down so that it's clear exactly what you're charging for what. The exact amount of any reductions you may have offered. First of all, obviously, is going to affect the total that you're invoicing, but also it's in the accounts. If you're a full-size business, then it will be accounted for separately than if you just put it down at a lower price than you would normally put it down at. So if you have negotiated a reduction with your client, then you need to put on your invoice exactly how much reduction you've negotiated, and then obviously that's going to have an impact on the total at the bottom of the page. TVA specific, so not going to get too much into detail with TVA now, but some of you will be charging TVA at 10%, whereas standard rate VAT is obviously 20%. There are different amounts. And then applicability, if you're a micro, then you probably don't charge VAT. If you're selling goods or services outside of France but within the European Union, or outside of France but outside the European Union, there are different circumstances. You do need to put the specifics on your invoice with the relevant legal mentions that go with that. Payment details and late penalties. So you need to give people bank details, obviously, if you want them to pay you by bank transfer. And you need to put in what the conditions are for late penalties, plus the indemnité forfaitaire. I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. The existence and duration of guarantee of legal conformity. If you are offering a guarantee of legal conformity, then you have to put the details of that on your invoice. And if you are providing a service where an insurance is obligatory, and obviously the clearest example that's going to apply to most of you is décennal insurance for building trade, then you have to now also provide your insurance details and your insurer. It seems like a fag, but if you are constantly being undercut by people who are offering the service and do not have the relevant insurances, then this is actually something that you can point out to your client and it will be a point in your favor. And if you're one of those people who is undertaking work that you are not insured to take on, I suggest you stop doing it. Now, I've not finished with this page, we'll come back to it, but I said I was going to show you how these things work, and that's what I'm going to show you now. And if you would like to just pause the video for a second here, maybe screenshot that, then that might be useful to you, because these are your payment conditions. So facture payable à réception, that's what I put on my invoices. Your payment terms may be different. Maybe you allow 7 days, maybe you allow 2 weeks, maybe you allow a month. Whatever you're allowing, you need to put it on your invoice. And then this, des pénalités correspondant à 3 fois le taux de l'intérêt légal sont applicables en absence ou en cas de retard de paiement. So if they are late in paying, then there will be 3 times the legal rate of interest applied in late penalties. And indemnité forfaitaire de 40 € pour frais de recouvrement sera appliquée en cas de retard de paiement conformément aux articles, blah, 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 blah. So you need to put that on as well. But listen, what I suggest is you just do a copy and paste and stick it on your own invoices straight away if you don't have it on there yet. Pas d'escompte en cas de paiement anticipé, so I don't offer any kind of reductions if people pay straight away or even before. Maybe you do. If you do, then you need to put that on there. And now we've done that, then we're going to go back to this. Now, I said there was some in blue and some in red, and what you'll notice, everything that's in blue basically stays the same every time. It goes on all your invoices and you never have to change it unless you move, obviously, and then your address will change. So once you've got your basic invoice template set up, it just stays the same and you can transpose the relevant details into whatever invoice you're making out. But the red stuff, this changes every single time. And that may not be a big deal for you. If you are somebody who only sends out 1 or 2, just a handful of invoices per month, then you can do this. It's not likely to be time consuming, it's not likely to be complicated. But if you have a higher volume of invoices, or if you have a greater complexity of invoicing, that's going to get complicated very quickly. It's going to be extremely time consuming, and obviously there's a lot more room for margin of error, which we want to avoid. So if that is your situation, then what I suggest you do is get yourself an invoicing program. There are loads of them around. There are loads of free ones around. You can do a Google search. Just type in meilleur logiciel facturation 2024. And you'll come up with lots. There are certain features that you do want to look for, though. And you want something that's obviously government approved. That's the first thing. You want something that's going to be very intuitive for you to use so that it's easy to follow. It's not something that you put off doing. You want something that's going to give you a dashboard view of your current situation, which invoices have been paid, which invoices are outstanding. You don't have to go trawling through bank statements or anything like that. You can just see straight away. And as I said, there's lots of choice, but the one that I always recommend is DUGS. It's completely free. It's completely free to anybody. You don't have to be a DUGS client at all. There is no, this part of the program is free, but if you want to go up to a premium version, then that's going to cost you money. That doesn't exist. And interestingly, a recent study in Independent IO that was comparing different invoicing programs voted it the best for tracking cash flow. I've put the link at the bottom, and obviously I've put it down in the description as well. Just click on that. You'll land on the home page. Click on Logiciel de facturation. And you'll find you have to fill in some information about yourself so that they can set up your invoicing template. And once that's set up, then you can start invoicing straight away. They'll be automatically generated. All of the legal bits will be automatically put in place for you, and all you have to do is fill in the specifics of each invoice. The process is super easy to follow. If you do make a mistake, then it won't let you finalize the invoice. It will point out there's a mistake here, you need to go back and correct it. You can save your invoices as drafts and go back to them later. And then once you do finalize it, then it gets downloaded straight away in a PDF. You can send that off to your client, and there's a copy automatically stocked for you as well. And if you're a micro, particularly one who doesn't declare VAT, then that might be all you ever need. And of course, if you're a full-size business, or if you're a micro but you're thinking of moving up to a full-size business, then Dance will create your limited company for you for €150, which is just an unbeatable price. And then you will have access to a full accounting service, end-of-year submissions, preparation for VAT, as many questions and answers as you can think of, all the bells and whistles in English, for a maximum of €129 a month. So obviously, again, the link is at the bottom. And if you use that link, it will also provide you with 2 months free, should you decide to sign up for a paying program with them, but obviously not for the invoicing program, because that's already free. So I hope this has been useful to you. If it has, then give it a thumbs up, click on the subscribe, do all the stuff. And if there's anything that you would like me to make a video about, then do let me know in the comments, and I'll see you again soon.